Today's lesson is going to be about possessive adjectives and using the apostrophe S in Spanish. So we're going to be talking about possession. However, before we get to that, we need to discuss a few other words. The word day means of or from, and we've used this already when we talked about who the people were and what countries they were from when we studied countries and capitals. Another word is and that means to or at. And again, we've used this with me permite ir a la oficina, or those other survival phrases. Now, we have not yet addressed the idea of del, which del is a contraction of the two words of, from above, day, and the masculine singular word for el, or for the, which is el. And so when you combine those, it becomes del. Al we have used, and it means to the masculine singular or at the masculine singular. And we've used this with me permite ir al baño. Now, a couple of things about these two words, del and al. Del is a contraction and al is a contraction, and they're the only two contractions in Spanish. However, contractions in English are optional. You can say can't or cannot. You can say I'm or I am. You can say won't or will not. In Spanish, if you see the word day next to the word el, you must combine it together and make it del. You have to. There's no option here. Same thing if you see the word a next to the word el, you'll combine it and make it al. All right, so let's look at the top of page 42. So again, very few contractions. Al and del are the only two. And it's combining the two words. Sometimes it's used to make it shorter or simpler. Sometimes it's another possible reason. But for here, you can see that clearly it's taking a letter out of it. It's taking an E out of each of them. So a means to or at, and el means the masculine singular. When you combine them, you take out the E to become al. It still means the same thing. Can't and cannot mean the same thing. So it doesn't change the meaning at all. Day means of or from. El means the masculine singular. And again, it still means of the or from the. So it doesn't change the meanings. Now, down below, we're going to need to do, it's a two-step process. The first thing that you need to do is, well, do you use el or la? And we worked on this a lot in the last couple of days based on the noun that comes after it. So is it masculine? Is it singular? Is it plural? Those sorts of things. So number one, when you're looking at el or la, the correct word for the to match cafe would be el. So when you see the words a and el next to each other, it has to get changed to al. So yo voy al café Toluca. Number two, you have el and la. The correct choice here is la because of tienda. So you just eliminate the el and you don't combine it. For number three, el or la, which one would be logical for a word that ends in an O? Zoológico or zoológico, and that is el. And when you have a and el together, it must be combined to al. El and la for parque, the correct word would be el parque, but when you have a and el together, it becomes al. Number five, el or la for cafeteria. It ends in an A, so la is the right answer. You do not combine it to make al here. Number six, el or la to match signora quali. Well, it ends in an A, so it's la signora quali, so you do not combine the de and the la. They stay as separate words. Number seven, if it is a female student, remember, it would be la estudiante, and you don't combine. If that's a masculine student, that la would become an L, and then the words de and el are next to each other, and that has to be combined to del. So you eliminate the la if it's a masculine student. Del for professor, simply because el professor, you eliminate the la, and then de el together becomes del. For number 9, el pelotero is the right answer. So when you eliminate the la, you see two words, de el together, and it becomes del. And number 10, because it's senior wig, it is el senior wig. And so you eliminate the la, you see the two words together, de and el, it becomes del. All right, the other thing back on page 41, another, the way that you use possession. There are two ways that you can express possession. One way is by using apostrophe S. So Tina's class, Susie's book, Mrs. Qualley's car. So you can use the apostrophe S or the S apostrophe, depending on how the word ends, but they don't use the apostrophe S in Spanish. So what you have to do is a two-step process. The first thing you have to do is eliminate the apostrophe S. And you can't just leave it with Tina class because that doesn't make sense. So you have to flip the noun and the subject around so it becomes the class of Tina, and then you need to write that in Spanish. Okay? So la clase de Tina. So there's the word or the use of the word de as we just mentioned. If I want to say her class, then that's a possessive adjective. That is something different. I don't have the word Tina at all. There's no apostrophe S to eliminate, so I translate su clase. So these are the two rules of possession. So let's practice with those. All right, mi or mis are the possessive adjectives for my. Tu or tus are the possessive adjectives for your informal. Su and sus are the possessive adjectives for his, her, or their. Nuestro, nuestra, nuestros, and nuestras are the possessive adjectives for our. We're not going to use the Spanish version of your, so we're going to eliminate that one. And then su or sus matches for, again, your, formal, or their. All right, so the bottom 5, 5, 6, 7, and 8, those bottom 4, we're going to do those first because those are possessive adjectives. So my pizzas, so you look at pizzas and you know that that's plural because it ends in an S. So there are two words for my, mi or mis. Knowing that it's pizzas that ends in an S, you need to have mis pizzas, meaning my pizzas. His doctor, there are two words for his, su and sus. Because it is one doctor, you're going to pick the singular version and it's su doctor. Their hotels, there is su or sus. Since hotels ends in an S, you know it's plural. So we are going to choose the word for there, that's plural, and then make hotel plural, which in Spanish, if the word ends in a consonant, you add an ES. So sus hoteles. Our hospital. The word for our is masculine, feminine, singular, and plural. So you look at the word hospital, it ends in a consonant, it's masculine, singular, so you pick the masculine singular word for our, and that is nuestro hospital. So when it's possessive adjectives, you just translate the word my, his, her, our, or their to Spanish, and then just make sure it's masculine or that it's feminine, that it is singular and plural to match the noun that we possess. Now, the apostrophe S is a little bit different. The apostrophe S, remember, we must eliminate this apostrophe S. In doing so, you reword it in English to say, the chocolate of my friend. So now you translate. Chocolate is a cognate, so it ends in an E. That makes it el chocolate of we just learned that word, is day. My, we just learned that word is either me or mis. Because it's one friend, it'll be me. And then friend is amigo. So hopefully you've heard of the word amigo. Now again, it could be your friend that's a girl, and that just becomes amiga. The teacher's radio. Eliminating this apostrophe S from it, you rewrite it in English to say the radio of the teacher. So you're going to say the radio, and radio has an asterisk next to it, so it tells you that it's an exception. So that should be la radio. And then if it's a masculine teacher, it would be de el maestro, and it becomes del maestro. If it is a female teacher, then it is de la maestra, because you do not combine de and la, only de and el. The student's piano. So again, eliminating this apostrophe S. So you're rewording it, rethinking it as the piano of the student. So piano ends in an O, so it's el piano of de, and then student, estudiante. So if it's a masculine student, then the answer is el piano del estudiante, because there's that contraction again. If it's a female student, you do not use the contraction because you do not combine de and la. The class's professor. So you're really going to take out this apostrophe, not an apostrophe S. So you're going to say the professor of the class. Class is an exception to the masculine feminine rule. So la clase de la, or el profesor de la clase. And if it's a female professor, it would be la profesora de la clase. So this is a two-step process. Think, how can you eliminate the apostrophe S and write that in English, and then translate it to Spanish. All right, page 43. Go ahead and do this and pause the video and then check your answers. All right, so knowing your answers. For he, you know we're going to be talking about his, su or sus. Because of coche, it becomes su. Nosotros, when we're talking about we, the things that we have are our, so it's nuestro, nuestra, nuestros, or nuestras. Knowing that we're looking at casa, it has to become nuestra. Number 3, Daniela ends in an A, so that makes it a she. So if she's talking about her things, they are her, so su or sus. Because of novio, it becomes su. Daniela y, again, su hermana. And if I'm talking about Daniela and her sister, it's their, which is also su or sus. And because of casa, you use su. A mí me gusta means to me. So if I'm talking about me, it's my things. So you've got mi or mis. And because of clase, it's me. Yo, again, means I. So we're going to talk about my things. If I'm going to talk about my amigas, has to be mis because of the pluralization. Tu means you, and if you are talking about the things you possess, they are yours. So it's tu or tus. Based on cafe, it has to be tu. And Miguel A. Ramirez is a male name and ends in a consonant. So we're going to be talking about his, and arte is going to be su. All right, so writing the following phrases, again, the apostrophe S. So the first thing that you got to think about is the piano of Raúl. Now translate that to Spanish. El piano de Raúl. Number 2, my professor's chocolate. You're going to write the chocolate of my professor. Translate that into Spanish. El chocolate de mi profesor or profesora. Antonio's clase or class. So you're going to rewrite that to the class of Antonio. That is la clase de Antonio. The garage, the doctor's garage is the garage of the doctor. El garaje del doctor or de la doctora. in the president's office, la oficina del presidente.